Jimi Hendrix set his guitar against the wall. Stevie Wonder moved to the drum kit. And the next 30 minutes were never recorded, but everyone remembered. It was February 1969. 3 in the morning. A basement studio in Greenwich Village that most people didn't know existed. 12 people in a room no bigger than a living room. The air thick with cigarette smoke and the particular tension that comes when musicians gather after midnight with no agenda except to play. Jimi had been there since 11, jamming loosely with a rotating cast of players who'd heard through the grapevine that he might show up. Some sessions like this turned into legendary recordings. Most disappeared into the night, remembered only by those who were there. Stevie Wonder arrived around 2:30. 21 years old. Already a Motown star. Already blind since infancy. Already carrying a reputation as one of the most musically gifted people alive. Someone had told him Jimi might be there. Stevie came. They'd met twice before. Brief encounters at industry events. Mutual respect, the kind that exists between artists who recognize something in each other that goes beyond technique or fame. But they'd never played together. Never been in the same room with instruments. Until tonight. For the first hour, they orbited each other. Jimi played. Stevie listened from a chair near the wall, his head tilted in that particular way blind musicians have, reading the music through vibration and air and some sense that sees better than eyes ever could. Around 2:45, the bass player needed a break. The small group fragmented. Jimi sat on an amp, guitar across his lap, not playing. Just present. Stevie stood up. Felt his way carefully through the cluttered room, past microphone stands, over cables, around people sitting on the floor. Until his hands found the drum kit set up in the corner. "Anyone using these?" he asked the room. The drummer who'd been playing earlier, a session guy whose name history wouldn't remember, said, "All yours, man." Stevie sat down. Adjusted the throne height. His hands moved across the kit, mapping it. Snare. Toms. Cymbals. Hi-hat. His fingers reading the geometry of sound. He picked up the sticks. Held them loosely. Not performing. Just feeling. Hendrix didn't raise his voice. He never needed to. Jimi was watching from across the room. Everyone else was talking, laughing, passing a bottle. But Jimi was watching Stevie's hands on those drumsticks with the intensity of someone witnessing something rare. Stevie tapped the snare once. Twice. Testing the sound. Then he started playing. Not a song. Not a beat anyone recognized. Just rhythm. Pure rhythm. Complex, layered, the kind of drumming that doesn't announce itself but slowly reveals architecture. Like watching a building appear through fog. The conversations in the room died. One by one, people stopped talking and turned toward the drum kit. Stevie played for maybe 90 seconds. Then stopped. His head tilted, listening to the decay of the last cymbal crash. "That was beautiful," someone said from the corner. Stevie smiled slightly. "I can hear the room better from here. Drums show you where the walls are." Jimi stood up. He didn't say anything. He just walked over to where his Stratocaster was leaning against the wall, picked it up, and brought it to Stevie. The room went quiet in a different way. Jimi stood beside the drum kit. He didn't plug the guitar in. Didn't sit down. Just stood there, guitar in his hands, watching Stevie. "Play that again," Jimi said. His voice soft. Not a command. An invitation. Stevie played. The same rhythm. The same architecture revealing itself. Jimi didn't play along. He stood completely still, guitar silent, just listening. When Stevie finished, Jimi said one word. "Again." Stevie played it a third time. This time, Jimi moved. But not to play. He reached out and gently touched Stevie's shoulder. "Stop." Stevie stopped mid-beat, sticks frozen above the snare. "You're counting," Jimi said. "Of course," Stevie said, confused. "That's how rhythm works." "No." Jimi's voice was quiet but absolute. "That's how rhythm is taught." It's not how rhythm exists. Subscribe and leave a comment, because the meaning of this moment is still unfolding. The room had gone completely silent. 12 people barely breathing. Everyone sensing that something was happening that transcended a casual jam session. Jimmy set his guitar down carefully, leaning it against the bass amp. He walked around to stand behind Stevie at the drum kit. "May I?" he asked. "Yeah, man. Of course." Jimmy placed his hands very lightly on Stevie's shoulders. Not gripping. Just resting there. "Contact. Close your eyes," Jimmy said. "They are closed," Stevie said with a small smile. "No. I mean really close them. The way you do when you're trying to remember something important." Stevie's expression shifted. His face went still in a way that suggested he was closing something deeper than eyelids. "No," Jimmy said, his voice barely above a whisper. "Forget the drums exist." Stevie's brow furrowed. "What?" "The kit. The sticks. Your hands. Forget all of it. There's no instrument. There's just the sound you want to exist. Can you hear it?" A pause. Then Stevie nodded slowly. "Yeah. I can hear it." "That sound," Jimmy said, "it's not coming from the drums. The drums are just in the way. The sound is already there. Your job isn't to make it. Your job is to stop blocking it." He lifted his hands from Stevie's shoulders and stepped back. "Play now," Jimmy said. "But don't hit the drums. Just stop blocking the sound." What happened next would be told and retold by everyone in that room for the rest of their lives, though each person would struggle to explain it. Stevie lifted the drumsticks. He held them differently than before, looser, like he'd forgotten how to grip them and was discovering it for the first time. He didn't count himself in. Didn't prepare. He just let his hands move. The rhythm that emerged wasn't the same as before. It was simpler. Slower. But it had a quality that made the air in the room feel different. Like the walls had moved outward. Like the ceiling had lifted. Stevie played for maybe 30 seconds. Then stopped, his face showing something like wonder. "What the hell was that?" he said quietly. "That," Jimmy said, "was you not trying to be good." In that quiet moment, Hendrix did something no one expected. Jimmy walked back to his guitar. This time he plugged it in. The small Fender amp hummed to life. He sat on the floor, legs crossed, guitar across his lap. He didn't adjust anything. Didn't tune. Just put his fingers on the strings. "Again," he said to Stevie. Stevie played. That same rhythm. That same quality of sound that seemed to come from somewhere other than the drums. Jimmy played one note. Not a chord. Not a riff. One single note, held and sustained, bending slightly, finding harmonics in the room's natural reverb. The note lasted maybe 6 seconds. Then silence. Stevie kept playing. Jimmy played another note. Different pitch. Same quality of patience. What emerged over the next 30 minutes wasn't music in any conventional sense. It was conversation. Stevie would play a rhythm. Jimmy would answer with a note or two. Sometimes a phrase. Never more than necessary. Long silences between sounds. The other musicians in the room didn't join in. They couldn't. This wasn't a jam session anymore. This was something else. Dialogue. Teaching. Discovery. At one point, Stevie started to speed up, falling back into the impressive technical playing he was known for. Jimmy stopped playing. The guitar went silent. Stevie noticed immediately. Slowed down. "Sorry, I don't apologize," Jimmy said. "Just notice. You were showing off." "For who?" Stevie sat very still. "For you, I guess." "Why?" "Because you're Jimi Hendrix." "So?" The room was so quiet you could hear someone breathing near the door. "So," Stevie said slowly, I thought I needed to prove I could keep up." Jimmy played a single quiet chord. "Keep up with what?" "I'm not going anywhere. Neither are you. We're just here. Two people. Some instruments. Sound. That's it. He let the chord fade completely before speaking again. The people who need to prove something are the people who don't know yet. You know. So why are you pretending you don't? Stevie's hands rested on the drums sticks motionless. His face showed something shifting. Some interior wall coming down. Play like you know, Jimi said simply. Stevie took a breath. Lifted the sticks. And what came out of the drum kit for the next 3 minutes was unlike anything he'd played before that night. Not technically impressive. Not fast or complex. Just true. Just sound that existed because it needed to exist, not because someone was trying to create it. Jimi played along. Not leading. Not following. Just present with it. When they stopped. And it was a mutual stopping, both musicians ending at the same unspoken moment. The room was silent for a long time. Then someone started clapping. Slow, respectful applause. Not performance applause. Witness applause. What followed stayed with everyone in the room, long after the last note faded. Stevie stood up from the drum kit. Felt his way over to where Jimi was sitting. Extended his hand. Jimi took it. Pulled himself to standing. Thank you, Stevie said. His voice thick. For what? For showing me I was in my own way. Jimi smiled. You weren't in your way. You were just looking for permission. From me. From the room. From whoever. But the only permission that matters is the permission you give yourself to be what you already are. He picked up Stevie's hand and placed it on the Stratocaster. Let Stevie's fingers explore the curves of the body, the neck, the strings. This guitar, Jimi said, is just wood and wire. It doesn't make me anything. I make it something by deciding what I want it to become. Same with those drums. Same with your voice. Same with everything. Stevie's fingers moved over the guitar like he was reading Braille. How did you learn that? By being terrible for a long time. By trying to be other people. By finally getting so tired of pretending that I just played what I heard instead of what I thought people wanted to hear. He gently took the guitar back. Set it in its case. The difference between good and great isn't technique, Jimi said. Every great player I know, and I mean truly great, they all have one thing in common. They forgot they were supposed to be impressive. The session broke up around 4 a.m. People filtered out into the New York dawn. Stevie and Jimi walked together to the corner where a car was waiting to take Stevie back to his hotel. Before getting in, Stevie turned back. Can we do this again? Anytime, Jimi said. But you don't need me. You just needed to remember you don't need anyone's permission. Stevie got in the car. Jimi stood on the sidewalk and watched it disappear into traffic. Share and subscribe. Some stories deserve to be remembered. No recording exists of that session. Nothing was captured on tape. But everyone in that room told the story. And the story spread. Musicians who studied under Stevie Wonder years later would hear him talk about the night Jimi taught me without playing. They would ask what he meant. Stevie would smile and say, he taught me that the music isn't in the instrument. It's in the decision to stop blocking what already wants to exist. Jimi Hendrix died 18 months later. The guitar he played that night was never definitively identified. But Stevie kept something, the drumsticks he'd used that morning. He never played with them again. He kept them in his dressing room at every concert for the next 50 years. When asked why, he always said the same thing. They remind me that the greatest musicians aren't the ones who play the most notes. They're the ones who make you remember who you were before you learned to be afraid. The bassist who was there that night, Marcus Chen, a session player who worked with everyone from Miles Davis to Joni Mitchell, kept a journal. In it, he wrote one entry about February 1969. Watched Jimi Hendrix teach Stevie Wonder by not teaching. He didn't show him how to play. He showed him how to stop trying. 3 a.m. in a basement. 12 witnesses. No tape rolling. Jimi put his guitar down, and just listened. That's the part no one talks about. The greatest guitarist alive chose silence. Chose to make space. Chose to let someone else discover what they already knew. That's mastery. Not the playing. The knowing when not to play. Years later, when Stevie Wonder was asked in an interview about his influences, he mentioned Jimi Hendrix. The interviewer asked what Jimi had taught him. Stevie was quiet for a long moment. Then he said, "He taught me that you can't find your voice by copying someone else's. He taught me that rhythm isn't about counting, it's about breathing. But most importantly, he taught me that real power isn't proving you're the best in the room. It's making everyone else in the room better just by how you choose to be present." The drumsticks sit in a glass case now. Museum visitors walk past them without knowing their significance. Just two wooden sticks. Worn smooth. Unremarkable. But they held a moment. A 3 a.m. decision. A master choosing silence. A teacher who taught by stepping back. And they remind us that sometimes the greatest performances are the ones never recorded, the ones that live only in the people who were changed by witnessing them.